All right. As promised, for our YouTube audience exclusively, we are here on Friday night, May the 2nd. And my goodness, the Fatal Fury card, fatal to the rematch for Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. Did I say that right off the top? Welcome in. This is different. This is something new we're trying just for the YouTube peeps and savages. I'm merely TJ Rives. Hello to Big Dan Rafael. We bow to our insider. The man has been ringside and in the arena for countless world championship fights and pay-per-views. Part of me thinks that you're thankful you weren't there at Times Square tonight.
I'm going to tell you why.
My God. We're going to get into all of this. Thank you for finding us. Again, this is something that we're going to try from time to time that is different on the YouTube page. That's the only place where we are, Big Dan. Right now is the YouTube page, and we'll see who all finds us. I'll tell you, we got fans finding us because they're already commenting before the show began, my friend. So this is good stuff. We're ready to get into it. Here's what we know. In the main event, a stunner. Dan, there is no other way to put it. Ryan Garcia has lost tonight in New York City to Rolly Romero, a 12-1 favorite when we handicapped this fight on our BetUS show, has lost. He has thrown the potential rematch with Devin Haney into turmoil. What's going to happen there? All right, let's begin right there. He got knocked down in the second round, and I'm saying this, he was not the same fighter after that. They were commenting on the broadcast. What are your thoughts?
Well, first, I'm going to address the first thing you said about, am I glad I didn't go? Because I thought about going. I was going to go to the fight and go up for the weekend to New York and cover this. And I'm glad that I didn't, actually. Because when I heard a way that the media was going to be seated and disrespected, I'm glad I made that decision. Instead of wasting my money and time to go cover this in person, I actually probably had a better situation being here in my office because they put the media, no exaggeration, in the Hard Rock in Times Square, apparently with very little or no internet access, and then some spillover at the Bubblegum Shrimp Factory in Times Square. Who needs that nonsense? I mean, give me a break.
So they did not even have them to where they could see the fight live. They're literally watching displaced on TV. Yeah. And are you serious? At the Bubblegum Shrimp Factory?
Unless the reporter that I texted with, who's a good friend of mine, was full of shit. No, I'm serious.
But the Bubblegum Shrimp may have been better than this fight card tonight. But I'm bumped while we crack off.
But back to what was the question?
The question's on the screen. How did this happen to Ryan Garcia tonight?
Well, first of all, before I even get to that, you said that it was fatal to the Romero or to the Ryan Garcia Devin Haney rematch. Could be, but not necessarily, because crazy things happen. And if they just said fuck it and decided to make the rematch anyway, it wouldn't be a total shock. Although I must say, I can't think of a card where I've seen two guys devalue themselves so much with their performance. Not just two guys. It was a multitude of guys.
More on that when we talk about Haney's performance and the rub. What happened to Ryan Garcia in your estimation tonight? Was it the knockdown that then made him tentative for the rest of the fight?
I mean, that's certainly, I think, part of it. He got hit with two nice left hooks, but I didn't think he was that badly hurt. He got up. It didn't seem like he was about to be knocked out or anything like that. I mean, he's been knocked down before. He's always come through in those situations. Other than the Tank Davis fight. But, I mean, he got knocked down by Luke Campbell, to my recollection. So it wasn't the first time he's ever been on the floor, and he came through. I just think that the Ryan Garcia, who lived such a hard life the past year, filled up with PEDs for the fight against Haney back last April, whether you believe that he was doing it on purpose or it was there and he didn't know about it, whatever. He had PEDs running through him. And then we all watched very publicly as he spent the next, many months melting down, both before that fight and after, with the arrest and with the drinking and with the drugs and with the mental health problems and the racial and slurs that he went crazy with on social media. I mean, that shit catches up to you. And maybe he had a good camp, maybe he was he looked in good shape. I mean, he was also coming up a little bit in weight for where he'd been fighting naturally. This was the heaviest he had ever weighed in for a boxing match in his entire career. That may be part of it. I feel like Rolly Romero, who was also moving up in weight, I feel like he carried that weight. He looked much stronger at welterweight than Ryan did. He looked thicker on his back, his butt, his legs. He just looked more built and in better shape than Ryan Garcia. And I didn't think that Rolly fought like a lights out kind of fight. He fought at his typical slow pace. And the onus was on Ryan Garcia to really, to be dynamic like he is. He never landed a single one of his really electrifying left hooks. Couple landed, but nothing. It wasn't the A-level one. And Rolly was able to fight at that nice, comfortable pace for the entire 12 rounds, got up to a lead, and just kept pushing forward. I thought Derek James did a great job in Ryan Garcia's corner, because as early as, I want to say, maybe like the 7th round or something like that, he was already urging him on about, you got to do this, you got to do that. He was understanding what was unfolding immediately. He didn't have to wait till like round 11 and round 12. And Ryan, maybe he listened, but he certainly could not execute the things that Derek was asking him to do. So he just threw no punches. It was, I saw what they mentioned, I think, on the broadcast. It was of the 15,000 plus matches that CompuBox has tracked in 40 years, the 3rd fewest punches thrown for 2 fighters combined in a 12-rounder ever. So props to Rolly. He won that fight, and he did it the way he wanted to do it, but it was not a good fight. It was not a good card, unfortunately.
Yeah, the whole thing's a mess, and we're going to back up to Devin Haney and back up to Teofimo Lopez, and Teofimo Lopez turns out to be the fighter of the night. He was impressive. The rest, my God.
Well, I mean, Ryan Garcia, though, as the star of the show, comes in the Batmobile, going out like the Joker.
Very good line. You've been waiting on that one for about an hour.
I actually just thought of it, to be honest with you.
And then after the fight, he was so matter of fact in the ring, there on the DAZN pay-per-view, like, hey, tip your hat to Rolly Romero. I just give him credit. I didn't have a good night.
I mean, I can appreciate the honesty there. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, I mean, Derek James to me was almost in like the 9th and the 10th round. Like, what are you doing? You want me to say it? What are we doing here? What are you doing? He even said to him, do the things that we've worked on in the camp. Go back to what we've worked on in the camp.
I don't believe this is not a loss that's on the trainer. Okay.
No.
I mean, clearly not a loss on the trainer. So I think Derek James, did everything he could to bring out the best in Ryan Garcia, and Ryan was unwilling to cooperate in what he was asking for.
And
that's whether it was by design or maybe he just couldn't do it. Because as I mentioned, when you do all the kinds of things to your life and your mentality and your body and all the things he was doing the past year, that's going to catch up to you. And you're at your heaviest weight, and you're fighting with a guy who was seemed somewhat determined and has good punching power and was in a good shape. And as Rolly had discussed in the lead up to the fight, he should have moved up to this weight a while ago. So maybe he's better served at 147. I mean, we saw him get knocked out at 140, in the 2 fights ago. He looked absolutely horrible in that fight. And maybe there's something to be said for putting on a few extra pounds and being a little more sturdy and not as drained when you get to the ring.
All right, so real quick, we're doing this live. And again, Dan, you can socially retweet if you would like so that more people find us and see us here for the next few minutes when we sit here. We're in the recap mode here of the Friday night Fatal Fury card in Times Square, New York City, where Rolly Romero won the co-main event, the final main event with Ryan Garcia. We're going to talk about Devin Haney in a couple of moments. We got fans that are already weighing in and commenting through the power of the technology and the YouTube video. Let me see. This is Webfoot Chicano, who says the card was terrible. Teo, Devin, and Rye all put me to sleep. It was craptacular. I think that's going to be a lot of sentiment here that we're gonna have. Let me see who else has got a comment or two that's kind of the same thing.
I hear what they're saying. I mean, I don't blame the organizers. I mean, on paper, we thought what we were going to get was going to be like a pretty solid card, albeit clear favorites in all 3 fights. But that doesn't mean that even if there's clear favorites, that they can't provide entertainment. And frankly, they really didn't tonight, unfortunately. That's not the organizer.
That was about a 2 on the entertainment.
That's not like the promoter's fault. That's not Turkey's fault. That's just
right.
Bad.
More from the peeps. You love this. Commander Vander says Garcia didn't seem to care, and his interview was weird. Just glad that he made it to the ring and went the 12 rounds. We kind of just echoed that it was strange.
Yeah, I would like there to be. Not that I want to tell somebody how they should behave. Everybody's got to process things in their own way. But having watched thousands and thousands of matches in my life and seen fighters lose big time fights before, you typically like to at least feel like they're upset by it a little bit. Correct. I'm not saying you got to cry and moan and curse and be a prick about it.
Big
But
Dan,
to show some disappointment is not unusual.
Yeah, Big Dan, we're rolling. We got more people commenting. Alex props you and says, Dan is right. Rolly has been spending his last year a lot better than Garcia did, for whatever that's worth. I thought Jim Lampley, and by the way, we didn't do a good enough job, I'll blame myself a little bit, of propping that Jim Lampley was going to be back on the call, the Hall of Fame broadcaster. He said right away that Rolly Romero looks bigger and thicker, more muscular in the legs, and the weight is suiting him better. What say you about that point, Dan?
Yeah, I agree. I said that before. I thought his butt, his butt, back, shoulders, arms, the body, everything about him looked well built and in great shape. And as he had said, he should have moved up a while ago. And so now he's there and seems to be more sturdy, and good for him. Now, I think if he finds himself in front of another fighter that's more active than Ryan was, he's going to have problems like he's had against other guys. But Ryan played so into his hands tonight. He let him fight at the exact pace and comfort level he wanted. He never made it difficult or complicated or hard for Romero, who just could fight the whole fight at one pace.
Yes.
And basically do what he wants, land a few more punches. He won the fight going away, but it wasn't like he was completely, winning rounds by huge margins. But what he would do is, while Ryan did dick, Rolly would land 2 body shots and maybe a hook, and that was enough to win the round.
And Garcia just never showed any urgency with the jab, working off the jab, putting combinations together, no doubt.
He never got out of first round. I don't know if he got out of neutral.
He says, not often turkey backs a turkey bedtime square. I'm not sure what that means. Pepperoni wants to know, is this the worst boxing pay-per-view of all time? It's got to be up there because we're about to talk about the Devin Haney fight in a couple of moments. Patty Creek Ranch says the Haney fight reminded me of Shakur versus De Los Santos. Both the final 2 fights had very little action in them.
I hate the Haney fight was absolutely terrible. But nothing that don't even Shakur. This made Shakur, that was like Gaddy Ward compared to the Shakur De Los Santos.
By the way, Matthew says to us, we got the peeps on a Friday night. Watch this. Matthew says, do we have to talk about the Haney fight? We don't have to, but we're going to in a moment.
I got some things to say about that.
We do as well. Alaska Bo checking in from Alaska. He's always with us on the Bet US show. Says, I really enjoyed Jim Lampley's story about the ringside photographer. So glad that he's behind the mic again.
He was talking about Neil Leifer, who's done iconic photos. And let me tell you, I've known Neil Leifer for 20-something years. I've had dinner with the man. He is just a wonderful human being. He's a phenomenal photographer, has amazing stories. And the fact that he's still doing this, he shot, like Jim mentioned on the broadcast, he was there ringside taking photos, iconic photos of the days of Ali versus Sonny Liston and fights, for decades. He's an amazing photographer.
Let me see. We got somebody else that's
and in the Boxing Hall of Fame, I might add.
Very true. Jordan says, I have zero interest in a Garcia versus Haney fight.
It'd be really interesting to see what they decide to do with that. I mean, I really don't know.
We'll get into that in a moment. Alec watching says Haney would have done better in the London Marathon this week. He ran so much. Thank you, Alec. Everybody's going in. Let's see. Hebrews 10:26. I don't know my New Testament to know exactly what that verse is in the Bible. He says, Big Dan, do you think the location had anything to do with the poor card? The lack of a big card had a bubble feel atmosphere. Do you think the lack of an atmosphere maybe hindered this in some way? Certainly the last 2 fights lacked anything to give anybody cheer.
You can't tell me. I mean, listen, I'm going to put it like this. I give a lot of credit to the folks, Turkey and his whole team, that organized and the idea of putting this event in Times Square. Very cool. I mean, in your mind, it's like, wow, that's really amazing. And it was a great idea. I mean, a fight in Times Square, like, that's pretty cool. But, and I don't know if they knew how it was going to unfold or whatever, but in the actual execution of it, it was unfortunate because when you only have a couple hundred VIPs, the fact that you're in the center of the busiest area, like, a couple of streets in the entire world, maybe, it sounded like it was church on a Sunday at times because the crowd wasn't making any noise. The fans who were maybe gathered around were not allowed to watch it.
They couldn't say anything.
Well, I was going to say, as we spoke about on the pre-fight podcast, because of an ordinance in New York, which I'm not sure why they didn't know about it or what happened, they made them put up the red wrapping around the chain link fence, so the folks standing on the outside couldn't see in. That was like an ordinance because of they didn't want people that were. It's like a driving thing to for safe driving purposes. And furthermore, they forced them, and maybe they changed this, but I didn't notice any shots of the jumbotrons. They didn't allow them to show the fights on the jumbotron. So it's like you put it in the middle. They might as well put it in a barn in Iowa.
Agree. They kept showing the crowd, but the crowd could not see the fight on the sidewalk. Correct. All the people waving. That just looked like tourists who were waving in the background of the Today Show.
So it's kind of cool, but again, if you can't see it, like I don't know. I keep thinking to myself, like, again, I don't knock the idea. I'm all for interesting things and new ideas. I embrace that. I like that. I thought it was a cool idea when I heard about it. But now looking back on it, you're like, wouldn't that have been better, like in Madison Square Garden? I mean, maybe not because they'd have been booing, but nonetheless,
sold your line short. They could have had it in a bar in Iowa. They could have had it in a street in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it didn't matter if the fans couldn't see it. All right, let's get into Devin Haney and Jose Ramirez. Another dreadful fight. There's no way to sugarcoat this. We keep it real, and we're live here on this Friday night.
It's one of the worst fights I've ever seen, TJ.
It's awful. It's awful. So what happened? And do you buy into what Jim Lampley and Antonio Tarver were talking about right away, Lampley especially, that Devin Haney looks like not only ring rust, but he looks gun shy from what Ryan Garcia did to him. And that dictated what didn't happen for the next 12 rounds.
I think absolutely Devin Haney was petrified of the left hook, because the one punch that Jose Ramirez does possess that can do a lot of damage is a left hook. I mean, he's had that ever since the amateur days. I remember watching Jose Ramirez as an amateur and as a young professional. I was at his professional debut, as a matter of fact, and watching his left hook and thinking that I might be seeing like the second coming of the Oscar De La Hoya left hook. I mean, it never really became that, but I'm making the point that if he was ever going to do any damage against Haney, it was going to be on that hook that caused him so many problems in that fight with Ryan last year. So, yeah, I think there's something to be said with that. Look, to me, Jose Ramirez, and I've said this many times, he's a beautiful human being. He's a wonderful person, a charitable guy, absolutely as likable as you can ever get in boxing, just a decent human being. I like him a lot. Like I said, I've known him his entire career. I've watched his career go down the slide downward over the last several fights in terms of even when he's won the performances. Tonight, he hit the bottom. It's over for Jose Ramirez. I mean, it's harsh, and I don't say that with any glee, but he's done. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, it's not like he has to retire. He might still be able to get fights, but the money's going to get smaller. He's got a nice family. He's got kids. He's got he's made a lot of money over the last several years. So financially, he should be okay. I'm not telling him what to do.
But if he couldn't take advantage of Devin Haney tonight,
but who would want to watch that after that? He just did absolutely nothing. I'm looking at the stat here. They combined to throw 503 punches in that 12-round fight. That was the fourth fewest in a 12-round fight in the history of CompuBox's 40-plus years and 15,000-plus fights in any weight class. So Haney did more because he landed some nice left hooks here and there. So while he was landing 2 or 3 nice shots around, Ramirez was landing absolutely nothing. So I said to you in the pre-fight, that would be I thought that was a mismatch and that he would win handily. And that's how it happened. It just was a terrible, terrible, boring fight. And I have to say, TJ, when you watch Ryan Garcia do so little against his opponent, and you watch Devin Haney in a win do so little against his opponent, even if they decided to go forward and make the rematch, I mean, they could do it, and they'll try to hype it up. But you can't sugarcoat what we saw tonight. As you said, that was 2 stink bombs. And that is like an advertisement for not wanting to do the rematch.
Clarify, they have signed for a rematch.
Yes.
It's scheduled for late this year. So, but give me the but.
The but is I don't know if there's any language that says they either have to have a win in this setup fight or a draw, or if it's the option of the promoters to go forward if they lose, or however you want to slice it. Now, what I wrote about in the pre-fight, and this is important, is that if one of those fighters lost, and in this case it was Garcia that lost and Haney won, that it was absolutely a very possible situation where the guy who was still standing would end up fighting Teofimo Lopez in the fall fight, because if Teofimo Lopez had won, it was always the plan was to go forward and have him on that same card come the end of the year in Saudi Arabia. So would there be some kind of movement perhaps to do Teofimo against Devin Haney? Maybe not, because there's no title involved, which
So there's no chance, so that we're clear. So there's no chance Haney would move back down to 140 and fight for Teofimo's title. This would have to be at the higher weight.
I mean, I guess you never say never, but
speculating, right?
I would say though. Well, I'll put it to you like this: when Haney and Ramirez fought this fight, they did it in a contract of 144, which was both of them moving up in weight. So is it completely out of the realm that Haney would elect after this type of performance to maybe go back to 140 and challenge for the big title, the lineal and Teofimo's belt? I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility. Typically when fighters go up, they don't come back, but he didn't go all the way to 47. He seemed like he made the weight pretty good. He looked in awesome condition. So I guess that's a possibility. That's going to be up to him and the team and I guess Turkey and everybody involved to sort of figure that out. But
all right,
you know, would you be excited to see Teofimo against Haney after Haney's performance?
I think it's better. I think it's better than Haney and Garcia right now as the next fight.
The problem is they want to sell this as a pay-per-view.
You're asking me if I want to put a bullet in my foot or cut one of my fingers off. I don't know. I don't know what you want me to choose from.
I'm just saying it's just a. I mean, I'm sure they're going to figure something out.
All right.
There's really not a lot of good options.
To Teofimo, he wins over Arnold Barboza. My hand is up. I thought Barboza might pull the upset. This was a one-sided fight where Teofimo Lopez looked really good. Isn't it fair to say this is the best he's looked since the Josh Taylor win when he won most of the titles that night? Or won the WBO title.
He won the lineal in the WBO because Taylor had been stripped
lost the rest of them.
He had been stripped and vacated
the rest of them. But Teofimo looked great that night, but not since, right? This is the best he looked. He was the fighter of the night, Lopez. Say more about that real quick.
I mean, I thought he was the fighter of the night. I posted that on my social media. The fact of the matter is, it is absolutely. It's not even a question of a doubt. This was his best performance since that Taylor fight. He had won other fights, but looked pedestrian. I mean, the Claggett fight he won, easily, but it was not a great performance. I thought he lost the Jermaine Ortiz fight, and now this was his third defense, and he looked really good. I thought. I mean, it was not a scintillating fight, but Teofimo, he tried to make entertainment. He kind of bounced around and clowned a little bit, and landed his punches. He didn't really show the power, as we spoke about beforehand. He just doesn't have that power at 140. He's had now, several fights in the weight class. He had one stoppage, and that was in the first fight of his move up to 140 against Pedro Campa, who was a journeyman kind of fighter. That was an expected kind of stoppage. And he didn't stop Taylor, and he didn't stop Claggett, and he didn't stop Jermaine Ortiz, and he didn't come close to stopping Barboza. So the power, in my opinion, is not there. But he does when he's on his game and he's in shape mentally and physically. He's a very good boxer. He's got a lot of tools in the toolbox, as they say, and he pulled a lot of them out tonight against a Barboza who, again, like some of the other guys in this card, fought at one speed, showed no urgency, one shot at a time. And, Teofimo was much more dynamic, even if the power was not there. So Teofimo fought a really good fight in my mind. By the way, I thought the judging in that fight, two of the judges had it 116 to 112. I thought that was extremely generous. The other score was 118 to 110.
What did you have? You had it like 10-2?
No, I had it 118 to 110, which was the same as the other judge that didn't score at 16 to 12.
If Teofimo doesn't get a Haney fight, he has mentioned he would like to fight Jaron Ennis. He would like to move up and do that. How realistic is that for you, just real quick?
That's absolutely real. That's okay. It's not me saying it's realistic. That's them saying it's realistic, because that's a fight that Matchroom and Ennis and Turkey and Teofimo and his team are interested in. That's a really good fight. I mean, Ennis will be the favorite in that fight, but Teofimo, as we've discussed, when he's had his biggest fights, he's made his best performances. Lomachenko, Josh Taylor, and I guess tonight you'd have to say so. And so if he moved up to fight Ennis, he alluded to moving up after the fight in his post-fight interview. But that's a tough fight. That's a really tough fight.
All right, let's get a couple of more comments, and then we're going to get out of here. We gave him a taste on the live show. Good Lord, there's a lot of people weighing in. What is this? Mr. Big Play Bray says, wow, can't believe you guys on live after a big fight. We're here for you, peeps. On the YouTube channel.
Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, brothers.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is exclusively on YouTube. Whether you're watching us live or you're seeing it on demand later on Friday night, Saturday, whatever, we're live after the Fatal Fury card. Let's see. Alex says, Teo has a history of fighting up and down to the competition, has struggled versus cagey guys. Haney would be a stinker opponent for Lopez. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
In a word, yes on that. Let's see. Anybody else that we didn't cover? Patrick wants to know, Dan, would you rather watch this Haney fight again or a Frez Okendo classic? That's an inside joke, right?
Yeah, whoever that is now banned.
Frez Okendo. I'm not even sure what that is, but somebody got that joke.
You can Google that.
How about Jordan says, I'm just not a fan of outdoor boxing events. This was a
By
dud
the way,
tonight.
I
This was a dud.
have said many, many times leading up to this fight and others, another reason why I decided not to go before I knew that we wouldn't be outside at the fight. And I didn't know if we went, the media would be in like a Bubba Gump Shrimp Company or a Hard Rock Cafe.
Unbelievable.
I don't like outdoor fights. I've covered many. I've covered them at iconic venues. I've been at Wembley Stadium and the Carson, both the tennis center and the soccer stadium. I've been at Yankee Stadium. I've covered many outdoor fights in my day. Hate them. Hate the outdoor fights. Now, they sometimes turn out to be great fights, but it's an agita, the whole process of doing an outdoor
I know.
fight. I don't like
you
it.
were there for the Crawford main event there in L.A. last August. It was hot that night, too. Beagle47 says, live post-fight show, much appreciated. Got my sub. All right, good.
What do you get? I want to know what kind of sub you got.
He's saying subscribe, I think. Kyle says, you wanted some big Bubba Gump shrimp. Don't let him fool you. It's not bad. But
why would I go to New York to cover a fight instead of Bubba Gump and not
and watch on TV?
Are you kidding me?
It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. All right. I think
it was a disappointing show. That's the bottom line. I mean, and again, I'm not blaming, then they put it together. The whole concept of the Times Square was cool and all, but sometimes
fighters have to fight. They have to deliver. That's the bottom line.
Probably the best part of the Garcia fight was when he came to the ring. They drove them from the hotel a few blocks in a car to get to the ring before they did their ring walk. The best part of that Garcia fight was him coming in the Batmobile.
But as you said earlier, for those joining us live, he left his Joker. He entered as Batman. He left his Joker. All right. So we have done this on the YouTube page. Thank you for finding us. Subscribe. There's lots of great content. You will notice on this page under the videos, get a preview before Saturday night and the Canelo Alvarez return. Hey, there are a few guarantees in life.
Oh, you can watch the Canelo Alvarez interview.
That's what I mean. Watch the Canelo Alvarez interview. It's right here on this channel. There are a few guarantees in life. You ready for me to make a guarantee for you? Canelo Alvarez will give you a lot more action and punching than what you just saw from the Garcia and Haney fights. Naoya Inoue on Sunday night is going to give you a lot more action and punching.
I think Rafael Espinosa on that undercard will also. I think undercard fights on the Canelo card with its
safe
Jack's title defense against McCallion or the Sarase Munguia rematch. Those are not going to be fights where you have to, wait 30 seconds to see a punch thrown.
It's an Ambien. It's a sleeping pill. All right, so we have that for later in the weekend. Again, thank you for finding us on the live show tonight. Subscribe here to the YouTube feed. This was just for the YouTube here tonight. On the Big Fight Weekend podcast feed, we'll do a recap podcast off the weekend that includes Canelo on Saturday night. It includes the Monster on Sunday night. That'll be coming off the weekend. Go hear from Canelo, see him and hear from him on this channel under the videos. Get Dan's thoughts on the 10th anniversary of Mayweather-Pacquiao, which was not a great fight 10 years ago tonight.
It was better than anything I saw tonight.
It was better than tonight. All right, so good stuff, Big Dan. I look forward to being back with you on the full recap podcast.
By the way, at Mayweather-Pacquiao, I didn't have to watch from a Bubblegum Shrimp Company.
That is correct. Read his Substack for more of whatever he tries to turn into a positive off of tonight. Go to Dan's Substack and newsletter for this. Much more content on the Canelo pay-per-view fight card, the Monster fight card in Las Vegas for Sunday night. The weekend ain't over yet, kids. We got more boxing. And we'll be back with a recap podcast on the pod feed after the weekend. But tonight, this was fun on the YouTube page. And a lot of you engaged. Thank you for doing that, Big Dan. Have a good rest of the weekend. We'll see what happens with the fights. We'll read you on the Substack and on the social media. Thank you for tonight, even if the fights were a little... Hey,
this was more fun than the fights, I think.
Yes, I would agree. Thank you, Dan Rafael. We thank all of you for watching us tonight live on YouTube on the Big Fight Weekend YouTube